Nice background. We
Thank you.
are live, guys. We are live with Ashley, the one and only Ashley Margo. Why? Because end of year is approaching. Like Clunker Research. I mean, we're busy. We're busy. I think we're gonna be busy throughout the holidays, which is honestly doesn't happen that often. Like, I know my site. We've got actually we're doing a study with your CRO right now. We just started it,
Mhm.
and we're planning to enroll throughout the holidays. We've got, visit windows. I've got closeout visits next week. There's a lot going on, startup regulatory. So the industry is not slowing down, but we wanted to get this live stream done before the year's over
Mhm.
because Ashley Margo, who Latinos in Clinical Research co-founder, Clinical Research Circle and University of Clinical Research. She's also teaches for the CRA Academy, CRC Academy. Yesterday you did a motivational thing, right, for the interns,
Yeah. Well,
right?
yeah, motivational
Was it
and
for CRA or CRC? Which one?
CRA. I actually have a
CRA.
class for CRC today.
So what was it about? Speaking of, here's a CRA Academy alumni. Before having the pleasure to meet each other, Ashley and Tamika. Tamika was one of our CRA Academy students, and now
Awesome.
she works in something. She works at. She's like on her third job in the industry already.
Congratulations.
So CRA Academy alumni network strong. But what were you talking about yesterday?
So, I like to call it like New Year's preparation, right? Because I think that, especially with the year, it's there's always so much going on, and I think even more so after COVID, everybody's kind of getting back to the rhythm, like the real rhythm of how it was prior. And I mean, for me, for sure, it's been kind of a whirlwind. It's been very busy, very hectic. You know, meeting your goals, especially if you're like a goal-oriented person, right? You meeting your goals, trying to keep up with everything. So towards the end of the year, we tend to kind of like sit back and relax a bit, which is very important, right? Because you don't want burnout, you don't want to worry about, anything, want to relax a little bit. But for those in particular that are trying to get into the industry, I actually find that this is a time that should be utilized well. Obviously, sanction some time for relaxation, of course, and spending some quality time with family, but making sure that you're also really reaping the benefits of making sure that you are prepping for the new year with job applications, advancing your resume, advancing your LinkedIn, also ensuring that you're doing extra education if you can, right? Because now we have free time. You actually get time off of work. So there's like a lot of things that you can do, but definitely kind of listing out a series of things that should be considered or looked at for reflection for advancement for the following year.
So what's some things like what was the reception yesterday from the interns?
Well, I mean, they were very receptive and I guess thankful to go through the list, right? Because again, it's a lot of it is it's nice to know that there's somebody kind of laying it out for you so that you kind of just make a list and see what you can do while you're on the break, right? But I would say, definitely, like I'd mentioned, looking at your resume and being very clear about what it is that you want to do. And this can go for individuals that aren't that are already still in the industry that want to move forward, right? It's about molding yourself to the type of professional you want to be or move towards to. So that includes, some extra education. So if for example, if you want to go into a leadership position or want to be considered for future leadership positions, you should consider looking at classes in edx.org, Coursera, etc., that kind of um, focus on that aspect. And yeah, Carla, I know, I know, I definitely don't expect to. I use my vacation time definitely for getting forward and ahead, right? And planning to kind of, I mean, you've done some classes, some recordings with me before down on here.
Oh yeah,
I'm very
Ashley
OCD.
Margo's like on it, OCD. So that's
Organizing.
actually it's actually a good point. Because and hello, Carla, how's it going? Tamika, thank you, Sritama from India, Hamu, thank you guys so much. Okay, what? How do you break down? Because there's different levels to the. There's levels to this.
Mhm,
Ashley, there's people that are not in yet, right?
mhm,
But they're on the brink of getting in.
mhm,
There's people that are semi in. They have like a part time role or like an internship role, like our interns. They're
mhm,
in, but they're not like fully in yet. So they
mhm,
may have more time, maybe, you know, to take classes or take a certification.
Mhm.
I mean, they're probably doing other jobs as well, other industries, but they might have more time. But people in the industry, like
Mhm.
us researchers,
Mhm.
like, so you have time to be doing other things in the holidays? Like you, I
Yes.
know you're busy.
Yeah, very busy. So yeah, I do. Again, it comes down to organization. I feel like if you're not organized, you're not going to ensure that you have that space and time available. And then obviously at that time frame, you look at what you have available and say, okay, how much of that time do I actually want to use for rest, and how much of that time do I want to use for advancement, right? Because I think again, it's perception. I think, for example, when people are looking for jobs or looking to elevate in the industry, it's like, oh, I'm looking, and really, it shouldn't be looked at like that. You should be looking at it as, oh, I'm investing my time for my future. I'm investing my time and or it, focus to like level myself up and advance my family, etc. Right? It's if you look at it as work, if you look at it as difficulty and or barriers or struggles, which a lot of us tend to do,
Yeah.
it's going to weigh on you, right? But if you're grateful for where you're currently at and how it's going to help you level forward, and just focusing on the fact of what the end goal is and not so much of the time that it takes and the time of this, the time of that. If you look
Mhm.
at it that way, obviously it's gonna weigh heavy. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned through my career in the industry, is that aspect. But also when you look for future furthering advancement, right, it's more of the time frame. So like I was saying, looking at the time that you have available, like for break, right, if you're going to take off 2 or 3 weeks from work for holiday vacation, being realistic and saying, okay, well, honestly, I only have 1 or 2 days to actually to
Yeah.
utilize that whole day. Okay, well, fine. That's fine. If you only have that much time, then plan ahead and say, okay, I'm going to wake up early. These are the things I'm going to do. These are the things I'm going to knock out. And then be realistic. Out of the list that you have, realistically, how much of that can you actually get done? And then level it to what's the most important to what's the least important. Because for me, when I wake up, I'm my most effective in the morning, right? And so the things that absolutely have to get done get listed at the very top of my list. And as I get through the day, I kind of like, remove myself slowly here and there. Those are the things that kind of trickle in and trickle out. So again, being realistic, having a plan, and having an effective strategic plan is how you can
Okay.
get things
But
done much quicker.
what about, because I'm one who says, look, like, you have to do networking. You have
Mhm.
to, and a lot of it is LinkedIn can do like multiple things at the same time. So not only is LinkedIn good for networking, LinkedIn's good for learning, like
Yeah.
realities of the industry,
Hmm.
regardless of your experience level. So I did a video recently where I'm like, hey, stop being lazy and looking at minimum job requirements and seeing if you fit.
Yeah.
Look at those people in those roles on LinkedIn
Yeah.
and see what they're posting. Like,
Exactly.
if you want to know site owner problems, you just follow me, Brad, Dr. Fox. There's a bunch of site owners on LinkedIn talking every day about problems we have. So if
100%.
you're somebody that wants to work for a site, or maybe your CRA wants to be a site owner, wouldn't it make sense to follow these guys and see what they're posting and not only network but learn? So a lot of this learning could be unstructured as well, as far as like there's no formal course, but
Yeah.
you need to get on LinkedIn and really study like the market.
Yeah, 100%. It's again strategy, right? So that's what I talk about when it comes to like molding. So usually when people are applying to certain jobs, they're just, going out there getting the free certs, this or that, but not realizing that some of these certs have a focus, right? And if you have certs kind of from all over and you're going, let's say, data management, I mean, it's going to help, but it's really not giving you the foundation or the strength to make your resume strong, right? So it's being strategic. So in this case, for individuals that like say that aren't able to take the academies, I always like to say go on LinkedIn, go to the company that you like, that you actually want to work for, find the individuals in that position that you want to work in. And the thing is, not everybody, especially when you're in the industry, and I'm guilty of this, stop, updating your LinkedIn and what you're doing and what
Mm,
you're up to. But some people do. So again, it's just searching and reviewing their profile, looking at the certs that they've taken, looking at the companies that they've linked with, how have their jobs descriptions or titles leveled through the position? Are they in your area, right? Because you can always sort for your region? If they're in your area, can you uh, speak with them? Can you get them as mentorship? Can you look at the companies that are within your region that maybe are hiring that have smaller, lower positions, but you're prepping yourself for that pathway, right? Based off of what they're doing. So there's just so many things you can do. Again, you just have to think out of the box. And I think that that's where a lot of people kind of hit the wall, right? They're busy just thinking that, okay, well, this is the only role I can get, or this is the only thing I can do, and then putting their eggs all in one basket, and ultimately for some people putting themselves up for failure sometimes because of the fact that if they get rejected too many times, they hit a wall and they
Hmm.
give up, right? That's what happens. And so again, it's being realistic of where you're at professionally at the moment, what kind of background you have, what are the easier strategic ways you can go, right? So somebody that wants to be a CRA, but they only have, let's say, data entry at a home health or data entry at a hospital, or even just like, let's say, an accounting firm, right? So your best bet is not going straight to the CRA route. Your best bet is getting, well, at least in my opinion, your best bet is getting certs, figuring out some fundamental education, whether you can actually pay for the education or look for it online through YouTube, through dance courses, etc., getting comfortable and familiar, and then possibly transitioning into a job that is more clinical based via data entry to kind of create that solid foundation, get that company to support you in paying for maybe an academy education or something. I mean, there's so many ways and routes. You just really need to think outside the box and what is the quickest, most effective way for you, as opposed to what you're just always hearing from other individuals that have much stronger backgrounds or different backgrounds, right? So there's just so many ways to go about it. And again, it's individually, specific, right? And
All
so
right, what
that's
about like for Tamika, somebody who your paths just missed each other because she was a few years before you joined us to teach the interns.
mhm.
Um, she's asking about classes to further in regulatory affairs. Do you know of any or any
Regulatory
recommendations for her?
affairs, no, but I would recommend going to edx.org. Edx.org has, I've seen some regulatory classes. I know if that's specific for that. No, I don't. To be quite honest, no,
Yeah.
but because I've only seen them. But there, we're in a virtual age, and everybody nowadays is coming out with education that is specialized in their focus. So you are bound to find something. And just again, just do research, keep checking. If there is not, look for content creators that actually focus on this, because again, you don't have to necessarily have a statement or a cert or this or that, because when it comes to the interviews, I mean, when they look at your resume, maybe some places will say, "Can I see verification of your certification?" But for the most part, I have yet to like really see a consistency in those requests. So if you were to do a cert, obviously in different, like say edx.com, etc., or .org, it would be a plus to showcase that you have it. But for the most part, I think yes, edx.org. But for the most part, what I think is important is that when you are in the interview, you showcase very strong knowledge skill set when you get questioned, right? So you can get that off of content creation. Thing is, it's a little bit more work and a breakdown and all that stuff. But again, if you really want it, it's there.
Yeah. And a lot of these things like regulatory affairs, once you get more complex, they're the people on LinkedIn that have those titles, and they're not always those same titles. Sometimes regulatory affairs, sometimes it's study director,
Yeah.
just clinical trial manager. You kind of have to know how all these things interact because at smaller companies, you have like a clinical trial manager that does regulatory affairs. At bigger ones, they have departments that do it. So don't just like rule out, okay, well, this person doesn't know anything about it, this and that. You have to see what they're talking about because a lot of these people in these roles they're passionate about it and they're posting rants, complaints, problems, those things you can google. I saw on TikTok the other day somebody, a job, a headhunter, a job recruiter for a big pharma company brought somebody in to an interview because on their resume they put, I'm good at googling things. They put that on their
That's
resume.
awesome. Yeah.
And that actually, because once you get more complex, you realize like nobody really knows the answers to these things.
Yeah.
So believe it or not, like Googling something or researching something is a skill at those
100%.
levels.
And something that this, and I guess to plug in Latinos in Clinical Research and the University of Clinical Research that we're co-founding together, along with the rest of the team. One thing that I've learned through speaking with multiple students and members, and then on the side what I do with my clients, right? Through assisting with application processing and things like that, what I've found is that there's definitely a huge disconnect between the processes of HR and or talent acquisition specialists uploading the job description and title, as opposed to what is actually the expectation of, let's say, the hiring manager that will be your actual manager, as opposed to what the job will entail, right? And so one of the things that we're working on with, I'm not going to say the name, but one CRO that we're working on is I did vocalize my concerns on this, because obviously, like for me internally, sometimes I submit internally applicants, because we have those contacts. But a lot of the times is they get kickbacks because it's just like, oh well, they don't meet the criteria, or this is more particular for this and XYZ. They give all these reasonings, and my issue with that is like, okay, if that's the case, be descriptive, right? People are not going to know this. And then what all you're doing is reaffirming to somebody that already thinks that they cannot get in, right? And so, what a little project of mine on the side right now is, and maybe we'll definitely have to do another recording once we've get this in motion for 2023. And I actually have another meeting coming up in 2 weeks with another CRO, so I'm excited about this. But I believe that these HR specialists are finally seeing this issue. And so I'm working with two CROs at the moment to address these gaps in between, and possibly create not only a more descriptive listing of what the job entails, but also a breakdown of what they're looking for, and their ranges. And what I mean by ranges is, if they're asking, let's say, for an applicant that has a bachelor's degree or preferable bachelor's degree with at least 1 year experience, right, in the industry. And so my ranges of what I'm trying to figure out is, okay, what what are the ranges for individuals that maybe don't have the education portion, or what are the ranges for individuals that have education and have experience within that skill set that is required, but they're not within the industry, right? So, like, giving a more bigger range, so that as people are looking at the descriptions, they're being told very clearly, you know given their background and or given the skill set, this is where you fall into place, right? I feel like that's just a good start. Obviously, there's, I'm sure, much more better ways to enhance that. But I think starting at that point is a really good way to start helping individuals, whether you're an LICR member and you reach out to us for a job posting, or you're a student at the University of Clinical Research and you are applying to positions. We can help much more quickly maneuver you into the pathway that these companies have already clearly lined out, that are set for individuals like that. So maybe you may not have a fully strong background, but at least you'll get a phone screening, right? Something like that to give you that exposure, and to getting to segue into the industry a little bit quicker without having to hit so many roadblocks, right? Because there's just so many roadblocks out there that
There's a
aren't
lot.
necessary. Yeah.
Look, CRA, CRC Academy, so lucky to have you. I know you got to go soon. I'm going to stick around a little bit longer. But I wanted to get to a few things like for the people already in the industry, but also feeling like roadblocks, like you said. Okay, but Carla actually has a really good suggestion for people with experience in research. Look for FDA inspection letters and start learning from findings. Really, this is so genius because
Mhm.
no matter what you want to do, if you have a little bit of experience in the industry, you can understand a whole lot from these things, and you can start learning a whole lot from these things because at the end of the day, these inspection letters are kind of what guides the industry going forward, like from a regulatory affairs perspective, from a site operation perspective, from a monitoring perspective. I mean, these FDA inspection letters are what drives future actions of all these stakeholders. So, so smart, Carla, and so few
Yeah.
people do it. And there's no course about this.
Yeah.
But actually, Ashley, not to give you and Monica more free business ideas,
Yeah,
but
Carla.
anybody who wants to make a course on publicly available FDA inspection letters and theoretical how to respond to them, you get a business. Like this is a business somebody can
Yeah,
do because the opportunity to learn from this is endless.
100%. And like that right there is a perfect example. When you're, I think when you're in interviews, I think people are so busy trying to focus the wording and their answer of the question based off of experience, right? And if they don't have experience, I think that that's where they get hung up on answering that question and feeling like they won't get the right answer or ace the interview, which is not the case, right? Really, what they're looking for is the way that you break down things analytically, because you're going to have to look at things like that when you're monitoring, right? But for example, what Carla just mentioned, that in itself is a showcase of somebody that thinks outside the box, right? And that's what they're looking for. They want these CRAs that are innovative, that can bring new thought processes, that can look at things differently. And so if you don't have any background, but you do what Carla just mentioned, and you come into an interview and you state, well, I don't have any experience. However, what I do have is understanding and exposure to FDA inspection letters, understanding how they do that processes of their findings and what to avoid, right? Boom. That
Yes.
right there is huge because that's really what they
And
want,
nobody
right?
does this. Also, for any interview, like if it's site level, CRA level, nobody studies this. So if you go into your job interview, let's say for CRA or CRC, and they ask you like random thing, you're gonna stand out if you can quote some inspection letters, or
Hmm.
even better, bring them with you if it's on Zoom or in person. Say, look, I have a I have a portfolio of like inspection letters from the FDA, and I've noticed some common similarities. You're gonna stand out like
Hmm.
so well. Nobody
Huge.
interviews that way.
Mm-mm.
So if you want abnormal results, you got to do abnormal things. Carla says
Exactly.
she's down to do that course. We don't have time for another course, Carla. That one's a great idea though. Great idea.
I mean, I will make time, Carla. I
All
will
right,
make
we'll
time.
make time, Carla.
We'll
Let's
make
do
time
it.
for 2023. We already
That will
have
help
so
the
many
sites from
courses
making
coming
the
out.
same mistakes. Exactly right. To make it gets it. So
100%.
and Ashley, feel free to leave whenever you need to. All right, I'll
For
keep
sure.
staying on a little bit longer, and I'll even give a link if somebody else wants to get on. If you want to get on right now when Ashley leaves for like 15, 20 more minutes, message me on LinkedIn right now, and I'll send you the link so you can get on the live stream right now with me. One of the things I wanted to pick your brain on,
Mhm.
and you're totally not prepared for this
Go ahead.
either, is there's a we always talk about transferable skills when it comes to, well, I coming from this industry, so I want to come to this.
Hmm.
Like we always use that in that context and it works.
Hmm.
But there's also transferable skills in the sense of I'm a CRA or I'm a
Hmm.
CRC or I'm a whatever I am and I want to be entrepreneur in this space.
Hmm.
I want to be a site owner.
Hmm.
We never talk about those transferable skills.
Yeah.
And there are a lot, and somebody yourself who's not a site owner, but
Hmm.
you're basically surrounded by site owners.
Yeah.
Most of I mean, myself, Judy, Monica, Chris from Latinos in Clinical Research,
Hmm.
right? And then all the sites you work with in your day
Hmm.
job. And I know you because you have entrepreneurial, definitely, uh, proclivity towards being entrepreneur. I'm sure you're already starting to see like what are some transferable skills to being a site owner from somebody
Oh,
who never has. There's people who are great CRAs that will fail at being site owners.
yeah.
I know why. I can't articulate it well, but there are others that can make a natural transition to it and you can
Hmm.
just tell.
Yeah.
So what have you noticed? That's why I'm putting you on the spot. I'm
For
not saying
sure. Go
you want to
ahead.
be a site owner, but
I mean,
just
I've
your
already
thoughts
been
on this.
talking to somebody about it, actually. I haven't told you, but here you
Well, I
go.
figured. If I were a betting man, I would have said for sure she's already thinking about it.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's also beneficial if you're a CRA, you have a background in clinical background and you've known doctors. There's a slew of doctors out there that don't realize that they can do the exact same job, maybe just a little bit more documentation, and it's a whole other income stream for them, right? And so if you have that background and that knowledge and understanding, especially if you come from CRO or sponsor, they feel a lot more comfortable, working with you on that end, right? Because you have that experience. But yeah, so as far as entrepreneurship, you are correct. Not all CRAs are good for that
Mm.
role. A lot of it is because there's aspects of leadership. Now, I'm not saying that CRAs are not leaders, but the role doesn't necessarily entail that you have to be a leader, right? You just have some that are natural leaders that will take seniority roles, that will do mentorships and things like that. You know how to communicate, all those kinds of things. But also, there's a marketing aspect. So you're getting out of your comfort zone when it comes to just auditing, right? Also depends on the location. And if you're in a rural area and dealing with the rural population
But
and
even
or,
beyond location,
yeah,
before location,
mhm,
just the person.
just the
Because
person.
I've met some monitors where I'm like thinking to myself, and sometimes I tell them, "You're wasting your time doing this because you should be a site owner." And then
Yeah.
some of them even ask me. Others, I don't bring it up because I'm like, "There's no way." And of course, I'm judging. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, who am I, first of all, anyways? But just my opinion. But there's others I'm like, this person will never. Thank God they're a CRA because they're never gonna succeed as a site owner.
Yeah.
And I think the best way to articulate it is depending on structure too much becomes a problem because when you're an entrepreneur, there is no problem, there is no structure. You have to build the structure, and
Yes.
by definition, you're gonna fail way more than you succeed. So
Yeah.
people get frustrated too easily because they don't have enough structure in their workplace. Those are
Yes.
usually that's a telltale sign to me. Like stick to your day job.
Yeah, you need structure. You need to be agile, right? You need to be really comfortable with, "Hola, Carla. How you
Speaking of
doing?"
someone who's agile, there you go.
Yeah, Carla definitely. But
Hey guys,
yeah, you
I wanna
definitely need. Yeah, go for Carla.
I wanna show you something. Here it is. I'm at a site visit. I'm supposed to be doing this, by the way. Don't do it. But look, this is how drug accountability looks like when you
That's
have one.
real. Hold on, let me take off the branding because this is like too. All right, show it again. Let's go. IP accountability. Boom.
Wow.
Look at that. And so you're a CRA. You're also entrepreneur, Carla.
Yes,
You're
yes.
everything. So do you know
I
what I'm
try.
saying? By like, there's some CRAs you can tell right away. Okay, she's gonna be a good site owner if she wanted to. And there's others where you're like, stick to your day job.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
So what is it? What is it though? Because
so,
Ashley's trying to figure it out too.
so one of the things I noticed is that when you guys know when you become entrepreneur, you have to put a lot more hours in the day. And for this type of person who wants to a 9 to 5 job, because I do have, I mean, coworkers that after 5 they
Look
want
out.
on, even if it's minimum. And for this type of thing or the type of work that we do, and the reason why I keep getting clients, it's because I do sleep. I'm not perfect. That's but I'm available.
All you Generation Z people, wake up. You got to be like us millennials, hardworking millennials.
Yep, yep, yep.
Can you imagine? We're in a point in time where millennials are considered hard workers. That's hilarious to me.
You know,
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
I
we
was
pass
talking about that the other day, actually.
the
These Gen Z is something else.
Yeah, I
Car-
think I think it's a
Carla with the
lot.
Red Bull.
I think it's a lot about because I've recently, because I'm in Colorado right now, so I've actually been around some people that have seen my work ethic, and so they think, usually the thing is when I'm on the computer past 5 o'clock, they think I'm overworking. And I make it very clear, like I have my job, I have my day job that is work. Everything outside of that is my future, right? I'm not going to be working for somebody else forever. I'm building my empire. I'm building my own structure. I'm creating my future that I want to direct, right? So when I clock off at 5 for work and I start with my passion projects, because I don't even call them work, when I start that, I literally get set on fire. I mean, Dan, I'm texting you guys at like 6, 7, sometimes 8 or 9 at night,
Oh yeah.
moving on certain things. I mean, Monica beats them all. She's up until like 11 or 12 sometimes, um, but yeah, it's, for me, it's not about that. It's about the perspective that I have on what I'm doing, how I'm helping myself, my family, but also how I'm helping potentially the future, right? Latinos with LICR. CRC and helping bring change to the
Yeah,
industry. You know what I mean? Like actual, fruitful things that
I think
is
that's a
bigger
trait
than
for
me.
entrepreneurs. Bigger than
Yeah.
you, bigger than money even. I know it sounds
Yes.
cliche.
Yeah.
I I mean, of course we all want more money, but I don't necessarily do it anymore for money,
Yeah.
right? I do it for the challenge. I think I figure out I do it just for the challenge. I like
Yeah.
the game itself. We got some
Yeah.
questions. Hold on.
Yeah.
What is better, medical coding or clinical research? You know my answer
Ooh.
Oh,
already, but you guys answer.
clinical.
Sorry, I didn't hear you, Carla.
For me, it's clinical research. I
Yeah.
can do medical coding. I can like we
Yeah.
can do
Now,
that.
I think if you do medical coding, you come into research, you actually have a level up to make more money. If that's, there's again, it's
What
it's
can you
not
do? What
choos-
can you do?
it's not choosing one or the other, right? I think it's
No,
it's 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 making a pathway
yeah,
to leveling yourself up, right? That's what I think. When individuals are looking at their future, they're looking more at the short term, which is understandable because you got to look at short term and long term, right? Short term is okay if you're in the medical industry and you can actually get coding to maybe even get financial support through your job faster through coding. Do coding, get it paid for, then apply in clinical research. Now you can actually ask for more money, maybe even get into higher positions and start off at a much higher level than what you initially would have been able to do so, right?
correct.
Yeah, because the jobs are always going to be there. It's about how you stand out.
Yeah,
And
and
so,
for medical coding, whoever likes like to be on a desk for like I don't know how many hours, a lot of medical coding people actually in research after we done our cleaning in the database, they have to code all the medications and all the all the type of disease that diagnosis that the patient have or new disease or diagnosis for AE. So they're always very busy,
mhm,
and it's a very well paid job. That's something that has to do a lot with data management. So
mhm.
that's and then
And
again, data management is not sometimes it's not part of the CRO. They're independent data management
yeah.
companies.
Yeah,
Not
shout out to metadata, right?
yeah.
In that. But I will say that the future, I mean, we're already seeing it, but the future definitely is data. There's a lot of technical aspects into it. And I think that if somebody that actually has technical background and capabilities like
Mm-hmm.
me, I understand it, but it's not something that I know will be my strength,
Right.
even if I'm training in it for hours. Like it's just not my thing. But for
Yeah.
those of you that are, consider it, right? Even if you're not
Yeah.
looking to do any of this stuff in the near future, coding and doing anything data related like SAS, R, etc., those kinds of things are going to be huge. I mean, I know somebody that barely touched on SAS and initially got hired and started off at what it's six figures, right? Immediately from hardly making anything straight into six figures and only training for about a
Yeah, because
year.
everything is data. Our industry is
Yeah.
gonna be where when biology meets data. Like
Yeah.
that's the future of this industry. So it's not
Yes.
one or the other. It's both. Clinical research will be data. Like
100%.
medical coding will be nothing. It will just be the platform of clinical researchers on top of. It's not gonna be its own thing. They're
And
gonna
then get enough
integrate.
experience on your own, you can go contract. People will pay for that.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
will pay for it. So again, that's where you go contract, no marketing, market yourself, make sure that you're building yourself, create that report, make connections, and network while you're building yourself. This is what I'm doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I'm doing so that when I'm ready or when I feel ready or whatever the path that I end up choosing, I've already created a solid foundation of networking and individuals that are big in the industry. And so I have guidance, I have access, resources, etc. But that happens over time. That's just the long term aspect. So it doesn't matter where you are to start off, you can be anywhere you want to be in the future. You just have to be willing to put in the time and the effort. Like going back to what you were saying, Dan, it's not about the money, it's the bigger picture. It's like with LICR. When we started over 2 years ago, um, I honestly didn't expect for it to get this big this fast and have this much work behind it. And we're barely seeing the fruits of that labor,
Oh
right?
yeah, it's
Pushing
just
through.
starting. It's not
And it's
even
2 years.
yeah.
That's yeah. I mean, someone can even say that we've probably put in how many hours? I would say 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week, maybe. Um, and that's free,
Yeah.
that's free, and giving out free content and resources. And
And that's each of us, like individually,
yeah,
putting that.
exactly. Yeah,
Here's a question: what are the chances of a CRO? Oh, and Ashley, if you gotta go, I totally get it. Like it's, I know you
for
had to
sure.
go, but welcome to stay as long as you want. What are the chances of a CRO pharma hires an expat with relevant experience, or even get a chance to go forward for an interview without referrals?
I don't think I know what an expat is.
I know that's what I was.
Yeah.
Um, Somebody who moves from another country, immigrates, is a citizen of another country, but lives somewhere else. So
Oh,
you got a lot of U.S. expats living in Latin America. You got a lot
Oh,
of
yeah, yeah.
expats living here as well.
I think it'd be easy. Actually, something that I was considering, going to, my family's in Mexico, right? And so that, and then my brother's looking to get a location somewhere in Asia, and I was just like, well, that would be great if I could. I'm remote, if I can go and work over there. So I mean, personally, with my CRO, even though I'm currently hired within the U.S., because the pay laws are a little bit different in countries, you have to pretty much reapply for a position, get hired, and within that location. So, I mean, I don't see that being an issue, especially if you have relevant experience. You just need to apply within that country.
Yeah.
But all right, then I'm gonna
It's
jump off. Thanks, you
okay,
guys.
Ashley.
It's nice
Thank
great
you.
seeing you, Carla.
Thank you,
If you
Ashley.
are interested in that, what you said, reach out to me and Monica. I know we'll be happy to do it.
Yeah,
But
sure.
all
Well,
right,
Oh, Carla's already on it. That's been
well,
her
yeah.
idea since I known her. That was our first conversation. Like after hi was Carla said, Dan, you need to read FDA inspection letter. I was like, hi, thanks. My name is Dan. uh, we'll get to that right now, Carla. Okay, can you explain health economic outcome research?
ooh, that's a hard one.
It's eh, we don't do a lot of public policy research. This is like a lot of NIH, a lot of grants. They want to governments do this to see what are the economic benefits to a population for X or Y, and they compare. I've seen some health economic outcomes in our studies, like especially phase 4 studies, like what are the economical impacts of this patient since they've been on this medication for 2 years. Let's track their economic outcomes. It's usually through like patient reported outcomes. It's just extra data that the sponsors can use, from like a actual pharmaceutical company perspective. From a public policy perspective, they do have more formalized studies, which I don't have much experience with.
So is this what we call phase fours? Could be.
Phase 4, they usually have economic outcomes in there
Yeah, that's what
when
I.
they want it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I mean,
public health, like
yeah,
NIH, like grants, they're actually doing studies just to see,
yeah,
okay, what's the long-term effects of economic outcomes for this. It's still research,
yeah.
and if it's
Research.
something you get into, it's something you get into, and it's a career you can make out of it.
And I think I believe I saw a couple of surveys going back and forward now with COVID and prevention and economic research with
There
prevention.
you go. Yes.
But I don't know. I don't know what it went from there because really those are not my area expertise. But yeah, I mean, if they're doctors or even assistants of doctors who are interested in getting that, that's a good way to go because it's still research, as you said, and it goes with the patient's visit. So if you are taking care of a patient, they're gonna still come to their patient visits. It's not anything extra, and they get compensated. Obviously, the site gets compensated, etc., etc.
And there's a lot of people on LinkedIn OIs that do this. So,
Yeah,
I mean, LinkedIn's the place to be.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, back to the entrepreneur thing. So, you want to like you started as CRA, right?
Well, no, I
Well,
started
people
out.
that know your story, like your story is really inspirational.
Oh, sure. I can do a quick recap. So I came from Ecuador when I was 18 years old. So my first job actually was as administrative assistant in a phase one clinical research clinic. So I was a person in the reception handling documents that I had no idea what they were, or seeing people coming in and out and had no idea what it was. But it's got started escalator from there really actually because if you like the field, you're gonna be in the field. like if you like it, you will never be moving from here. So I escalated to data management, then coordinating, then quality control, and so on. And then a couple of years working, I had the opportunity with a small SMO that me, and I speak Spanish and some of my skills, and they gave me the opportunity to become a CRA. However, this is a small. It was a small CRO, so there was no training that they did. So I kind of had to figure out all on my own. So that's what happened. Like I understood because I seen in so many monitors coming into our sites that I had to take care of. I understood what the monitors were looking for, and I also had my FDA guidance book with me all the time.
You love
So
the
that's
FDA.
I know.
Your favorite is the FDA.
Yeah,
Do you network with people at the FDA? Like
I
serious question.
try. I try. Like I know ACRP has a lot of courses that they have previous inspectors of FDAs that give courses, and that's the people I try to link in. Like and then when I have questions, I'm like, there's nothing, I just want to know how would you handle that. And usually they guide me to a draft document that the FDA's guidance.
Yeah.
And those I really, it's just that you have to put in time. Once you understand the draft guidance of the FDA, it goes a lot smoother because then you can tell the sites or even explain to other people at your same level what's the expectation of the FDA when they're coming in to see a site.
And what so you've gone from all that to now, like what are you doing now? You're monitoring, but
Yeah,
you're monitoring for who?
different. So we are our own company.
Yes,
We,
entrepreneur.
yes, yes. So we have like our specialty is phase one. So right now I'm working through a couple of CROs because they don't have phase one monitors. So what they do is they look for us because they need our expertise. So we're not employees for them. We're just the contractors as a company, and we're like about a team of 5 people, and we serve Florida. So yeah, that's what I do a lot, a lot.
Would you ever, now that you've done both, right? You've worked for others, you've worked for yourself.
Hmm.
What do you prefer? What's the pros and the cons? Can anyone do it?
I
Um,
see that anyone can do it. Go ahead.
yeah, no, basically those can anyone not do it? Let's start with that. Who should not
Just
do it?
look who's there. My little
Hey, what's
tonto
up, man?
is
Hey, it's
counting.
been a while. I remember still having dinner with him on the coldest day in Los Angeles history. He lucked out. 100 years coldest day in Los Angeles history was when we decided to have dinner.
Oh God.
Somebody from Miami. That was he thought we were in North Dakota or something.
So one of the things I think it took a lot of time to get what I am. Don't think it's gonna happen overnight. It does take the extra work because I had to have my employee job with CROs so I can be a regular CRA, traveling 2 or 3 days out of the week, sometimes even 5 days,
Hmm.
keeping that in order, and then actually networking with other people that I had met throughout those years, doing during my CRA years. So those are the people that actually reached me out and said, "Look, we're just looking for a consultant. Can you do it for us?" And when I saw what it was, I was like, "This is nothing of the other world. I can handle this." So I started. I actually, with my first, I opened the company. I only have one contract. Like literally, I will have to figure out the days that I was gonna be doing in office work and go to work with them, and then work on the weekends on my reports and expense reports and things like that. So it
That's all
took
you
a lot.
needed. That's all you
Yeah,
needed.
it took a lot of, not a lot of years, maybe 4 or 5 years of dedication and hard work. But then by the time when I had 2, 3 contracts, I mean, I was really scared. I was like, I cannot, I'm not used to not having money coming in every other week from a secure source. And my
Yes.
husband talked about it, and we're like, we're too busy. Right now the priority is making our clients happy so they can come back to us when we need them. So we pulled the trigger, and it was just a jump of faith. And let me tell you, now we get paid every week. So it's
Well, let's
got.
talk about let's unpack that a little bit. But ECRG, it's been a while. Welcome, man. YouTube legend right here. ECRG, Elite Clinical Research. Also, Clinical Research Maven says they can connect you to an FDA colleague, Carla. Um,
Oh, thank you.
but let's unpack this entrepreneurship thing because there's transferable skills. So when I had when you're running a business, it's bipolar mania and depression. It's highs and lows. The older I got, maybe it's just luck now or stability. It's more stable. But when I
Hmm.
started, oh my gosh, guys, people don't talk about the like. I
Hmm.
woke up. I woke Carla. There was times I was so stressed. I woke up. I was using my savings account, my personal savings, to pay my
Hmm.
employees, to pay my
Yeah.
payroll. That's when you
Yep.
know you got to believe in your employee. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not just paying what the sponsor gave me as startup money. I'm paying you
Hmm.
my money
Yep.
to hope that you are doing what you're supposed to do. There was
Yep.
times I woke up 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, because I knew that's when the bank would clear their transactions to see
Hmm.
if we got paid or if I was negative. This is
Yeah.
like stress, guys. I had hypertension. I had sleepless nights. I had panic attacks. All that stuff no one talks about.
No. Okay. So let me. So I also in my course life, we also had a moment where we had a site. We were, and then not necessarily we had it for maybe 10 years solid. And this is one of the reasons why we stress out so much about it, because we obviously, I'm a CRA. I want everything done how it is, and it takes time and dedication. And that's what I was expecting from my employees to do. Obviously, they're not gonna come to work with me for a minimum wage if I'm expecting this, right? So the salaries were very high salaries, but the quality of work was well. And then because I didn't wanna, because there are a lot of sites that are really good, but once they start blowing up and out, they lose the quality. And this is when they get burnt out, and the client won't look for you again. So I didn't want this to happen with us. I actually, a couple of times, if the try was very bad or it didn't accommodate where our timelines, I will have to let it go. But it was a decision that I had to make sure that the quality of the work still the same. And mind you, because we are, me and my family still in the industry, we didn't want our names to get screwed up, because once someone tells you, oh, you did a horrible job, that's the only thing they're going to remember. It doesn't matter how many good things you do. They're just
Yeah.
going to remember that you did something bad.
Like Janet Jackson says, "What have you done for me lately?"
Yeah. so um I was like in too much pressure. Like you, I had to, I mean, even it got to the point because we had clients, I don't know if you had this, that they want to pay a quarterly, and I was like, we
Oh
can,
yeah.
your you know um so it will, or they will tell you, yes, we will send a payment, and the payment didn't get there on time, and I was counting with that to make
Yeah.
my. So this became a hassle. I was like, I can't not, and we have several streams of income. So thank God we didn't have a problem. But then if you put it to the effect I was taking, the hit that I was taking emotionally was too much.
It's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
People don't realize that part.
no, and then also you are taking care of another family. I mean, your employees cannot go on Friday empty-handed. They have to pay their bills, pay their rents.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of pressure on you.
Lot of responsibility. I took one
Um,
of those at one point, one of my lowest points. This was during the first recession, the 2009 8. I took out one of those loans because I
yeah.
ran out of my saving. I took out one of those daily loans where
Mhm.
they give you like 40 grand and then every day they take out $100 from your account
Um,
until
yeah.
you paid it off. Oh my God, one of the most stressful things I've ever had in my life.
But you have to do it because you believe in
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah,
So we I'll completely understand, and we had to also deal with that. I thank God I had great employees, and when we decided to close the business, which was COVID time as well, because we noticed that our patients were not coming in. We didn't have enough studies to keep it open. It was just not smart. And by realizing that we had, I had a business growing for another portion. My sister has it's doing pretty well, my mom too, so it was like we don't need to have all this stress out. So we close, and then now that we're taking all kind of their own, it's a lot better. But it took a big decision, and I have clients that keep calling us and they're like, where can I place my study? And that's where our company works, because now that we are we're doing CRA service, I can put the sponsors with the correct site that I would think will be the most appropriate for their studies. Because
And
I
you deserve the success too. And the thing that we just made it seem really bad and stressful, which it is, but it's important people understand this. If you can get through it and do it smart, it becomes much more stable. And then, but the work doesn't stop either,
no,
but the stress kind of does. The stress transfers. My stress transferred from financial to no time.
yeah,
That's where my stress transfers.
no,
But it's a lot easier to deal with no time than no money. Let me
yeah.
tell you that.
So let me just be very clear. If I had the opportunity to run a site, I will do it again in a heartbeat. I love site level. A lot of people always ask me why you haven't moved on from monitoring, because I could be right now a senior PM. I like to deal with sites. That's my area of expertise. I like to train. I like to explain, and what better than a site to have people learn, and that's what I like. So I
Hmm.
will have it again. I have no problem with that. I know how to go from A to Z in a site. So if you have the capabilities to do it and invest your money smart, because that's another thing we did wrong. We kind of started big, and you in a sites you have to start small, from small to
Yeah, very practical.
yeah, yeah.
You have to
So
do it just like Ecuador won the game, little by little, not all at once.
don't remind me. We are
Didn't they win?
they win, but we're out already.
Oh, you're out? Oh, that's old post. All right, never mind. I haven't been paying attention. All right, Carla, look at this question, okay? Just a few more guys and we're going to get going, but thank you so much, Carla. I study business in grad school. What emerging or traditional business problems should I focus on in the clinical research industry?
Oh God, that's a good question. So I don't know how you feel about BD for this answer. A lot of the issues that I've seen happening, and maybe that's a topic that we can discuss, especially when it comes to phase one. I will, if you're listening to me, phase one, you'll be your thing to go. So we're seeing a lot of our BDs are going out and explaining the services and that we're going to do, and we're all happy family and it's going to happen great, blah, blah, blah. Once we see the protocol and realize what type of job is it that we do, it has nothing to do with what the BD exposed to the to
Mm,
the client, and it doesn't meet the expectations. And sometimes we even have to renegotiate budgets because our BD person, again, it's focused on the business part, but has not taken the time to see what this entails to. So if we can bring that for a business person to come to that understanding of what it is and how much it takes, they will be very developed when they put a budget out together or when they have to explain a service to the clients.
mm-hmm.
So I think it's a Brad that has a Not to File podcast. He has a
Brad
lot to say about,
Hightower, I love this dude. Yeah,
yeah,
biz dev.
yeah,
Um, my advice would be like Carlos is practical for sure. Like you have to think there's a lot. You have to
yeah,
think about okay, now you have to break it down. A lot and what's realistic for me to solve because you're going to need money. If you go for the higher problems, like what my sponsor Viva is trying to solve, right? Like they're trying to get all sites to use eReg and digitize everything. They're basically giving out eReg for free to sites. That's going to cost money. Obviously, that's a huge problem with a huge opportunity. But how's somebody going to start out doing that and competing with these big market cap, multi-billion dollar companies? You can't, right? So you got to be practical, like what Carla's saying. Maybe start with biz dev. Maybe figure out network with site owners or entrepreneurs like Carla or other people on LinkedIn. Brad, figure out what they're complaining about.
yeah. Hmm.
Don't
Yeah,
just
a
go
lot
for
of the
what's sexy.
No, no, no. So definitely for me, I would sit down with a person that has a site. I would sit down through an SIB, because if you have a site qualification based, the difference between a site qualification based and they tell you what your the site's gonna do to an SIB, the changes are humongous. So
Hmm.
this is when you need that person, the person that has a business type of thinking, to tell you, this site owner, okay, this is the amount of work that you are gonna have to do. This is the overhead that you're gonna have to charge, and we can explain together to the client why this amount of money needs to be done. I mean, who else than that?
They want practical results. Last one. Thank you, Carla. And thank you, everyone, for sticking around. What is the initial cost of opening the business? So I'm assuming a site. Can you list any sources I can contact? So it's either $0 or a lot. I mean, if it's a site, it's your PI. Your PI is the foundation. Do they have an office? Do they have a private practice? Can you negotiate with them? If you're talking about doing like a phase one, that's Carla's expertise, and good luck with that because that's a lot of money. What up, man? How's it going?
Busy.
Working hard. I could see. I could see. Thank you for
we
working
need
hard
to
on a
do
Friday.
we need to do one in drug accountability, because I had a couple of people that are, they come with me to oversee what I do, and they're like, okay, teach me. No one teaches us this. That we kind of have to. You have to
Is it a
figure.
pill? Those look like pills, no?
They're
Pill
mixed
bottle? Oh, wow.
mixes. So I had to. So from pharmacy, we have to see how the compounding is, desterilize, to at the time that the patient was dispensed the medication and
Oh, because that's
taken.
phase one, right? That's phase one.
Exactly, exactly. So usually for phase one, we do, and then the pharmacy also have to send this to quality to get reviewed by a local lab to make sure that the batch that they're doing has the appropriate strain that the company is looking for. In order to, so there are several steps. So what you
Hmm.
saw is only dosing for patients. I still gotta check what was sent and if passed from pharmacy, because it's compounding here.
They must love you at the site there.
Oh yeah, they love me. I mean,
You're the best monitor they've ever had.
they want to kick me out so bad.
Well, thank you so much, Carla. I mean, we got obviously got to do more of these with people like you, people like Ashley. Like, there's so much. I guess this is a good way to end it. There's so much opportunity in this industry. It's hard to even see, like what you're doing, Carla, for example. It's so specialized, but it's like such a needed area of the industry. Like, yeah, I've been doing this gonna be 18 years soon, and I don't have almost any experience with phase one. Um, and you're like a guru on phase one. Like, it's just like an example of so many areas in our industry that you can explore. So you'll never get bored. There's always opportunities as long as you keep staying relevant and also combine it with finding what works for you and your anxiety and stress levels and all that stuff. All that's important. It's complicated stuff and it's different for everybody.
Yeah. But thank you for having me,
Thank you, Carla.
guys.
And have a good rest of the monitoring visit. And everybody else, thank you so much for watching. If you want to connect with Ashley or Carla, their LinkedIn will be underneath this video and in the show notes if you're listening. So go check them out, go connect. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Have a good one, guys.